Welcome to today's episode of the podcast. For those of you who are new here, I'm Heather McConaughey. I'm a registered nurse turned online weight loss coach turned intuitive eating counselor. I was a nurse for 6.5 years in clinical environments like the ER, and then I was an online weight loss coach teaching weight loss through macro counting for 5 years, and now I am an intuitive eating counselor. My goal today is to share with you how to survive potential weight gain that you might experience while learning to eat intuitively. I will say this, intuitive eating will either cause you to gain some weight, lose some weight, or maintain your weight. But the goal eventually with intuitive eating is to heal your relationship with body and food, and your body will just naturally find its set point when you are engaged in the principles of intuitive eating. When you are honoring your hunger, when you are feeling your fullness, when you are eating foods that satisfy you, when you are practicing gentle nutrition, when you are practicing self-care and kind movement to your body will settle where it wants to be genetically and biologically. That said, it can feel really scary to give up dieting tools that you have used to either yo-yo diet, like maybe you're somebody who loses weight and regains it and you do that over and over again. Maybe you're somebody who lost weight and now you're maintaining your weight loss, but it takes a ton from you. You have to restrict a lot of foods. You have to exercise a lot. And that is something that ultimately isn't great for your mental health. You know, one of the kind of dark sides of the fitness and nutrition and training world that I think a lot of coaches don't talk about, and not because they're trying to hide something, I think they're just unaware of their habits, is that the coaches that you might hear talk about forever fat loss and like permanent weight loss, they're like, I did it, you can too. They're also coaches who like work out professionally. Like they're working out multiple hours a day. They're going to the gym, they're going for walks, they might be going for a bike ride. Like they're working out multiple times a day, multiple days a week. And then they're also probably restricting foods. They are not eating whatever they want. They do not have food freedom. They might say things like, oh, I eat treats in moderation and I do these things, but it's still a form of restriction. And hey, if that works for you and you're happy, like go for it. Like there's nothing wrong with that if that works for you. But I'm here to tell you, after being a weight loss coach for 5 years and seeing clients like trickle back who've regained weight, and seeing clients like stubbornly not be able to lose weight, like their set point is just higher, and then feel like a failure and then feel miserable. Like I'm just like, there's got to be a better way. So that said, our society still really worships slender bodies, thin bodies, lean athletic bodies. Just remember, an athletic body belongs to like an athlete, right? If you're a professional athlete, you will have an athletic lean body. If you're not a professional athlete, like the majority of us, then it doesn't make sense to pursue that type of body. That type of body comes about because you're training 6 hours a day at your sport professionally and being paid for it. That was a big wake-up call for me, that these bodies that I saw online or on images or people I admired, those bodies were because they were a professional athlete, and I'm not a professional athlete, okay? So let's talk a little bit about some of the things you might think that you need to do to kind of control your weight. So one of the things you might be doing is like keeping foods out of the house. You might be restricting the amount of foods you eat. You might also choose to like avoid social events. You might choose not to go to restaurants. You might choose not to go on trips. It might make you anxious to like go on a trip to Europe where there's like pizza and gelato. It might make you anxious to go on a cruise with like all you can eat buffets. All of these situations are opportunities for you to quote unquote lose control, which can make you feel anxious. When we are trying to control our bodies, when we're trying to keep our bodies small, the overarching theme is control. If you look at people who suffer from eating disorders, they are struggling with feeling a need to control their bodies as a way for them to exert agency and control over their lives. And this also mixes then with like body image that we see in the media, like parental influences, etc. But I truly believe that eating disorders are really like at their core a fear of not being in control of the outcomes of our lives. So that's why I think it's like such a spiritual journey too, because for me, like my healing with food really came about when I surrendered and submitted my life to God. When I was like, you know what, I'm not in control. Like I actually don't have control over everything in my life, despite what I would like to believe. And so being willing to accept that like you do not have complete control over your life. You don't have complete control over your loved ones. You don't have complete control over the safety of your loved ones. To be alive is to be vulnerable. And all of these things can be really uncomfortable. And so then we turn to food and our bodies as something that we feel, oh, I do have direct control over this. This is like the one sphere of my life that I can control, and I'm going to control it so well that I'm going to show that like I do have control over something in my life and I can feel safe. But then that leads into obsessive thinking, anxiety, fear, isolation, your universe becoming really small. And none of those things are ultimately going to lead to fulfillment or the feeling of peace that you think having control will give you. So while it can be scary to think about potentially gaining some weight if you have either been restricting to maintain weight loss or you've just been yo-yoing all over the place and you're like, I just don't want to gain weight again, I will tell you this, restriction is not the answer. Restriction is actually the cause of loss of control eating, binge eating, overeating, feeling out of control with food. Think about it like this, okay? Restriction is actually the thing that's causing you to overeat, but then you think you're overeating because you have no control with the food and you should control it more by restricting it, right? Does this sound familiar? It's kind of like bloodletting. So what, like not even 200 years ago, they thought that you could heal a sick person by draining blood from their body, like cutting their vein in their arm and just letting blood drain out. Well, what does that actually do? Well, it reduces their total blood volume, which actually causes hypotension. It could actually send the body into hypovolemic shock. It creates a wound on the body, which is now vulnerable to bacterial infection, and we know things weren't super clean back then. It also drains your body of like hemoglobin and white blood cells and red blood cells that transport oxygen and actually make you strong and help your body heal. So we can see that they thought bloodletting was the answer, but actually it just made the patient sicker. But then the patient got sicker, and because they thought bloodletting was the answer, they just kept bleeding them more until they died, okay? So I want you to think of that when it comes to restriction and overeating. You think that the answer to your overeating is to restrict. You think that's the cure. But the problem is, not only is it not the cure, but it actually is the source of the ill. It is the thing actually making you sick. So what are some things that you need to think about and really put into your thinking? My goal as a coach is not just to give you systems and protocols and things to follow. It's to change the way that you think. And it's to alter the way that you are approaching these challenges in your life. So the first thing you need to understand and get is that thinness is not going to equal happiness for you. I know that it may feel that way. And I know that if you have, if you are in a larger body, it can feel like, actually, Heather, being smaller would help me achieve certain goals in my life. So I'm not in your body. I can't tell you exactly what you're experiencing. I can just tell you from my experience that like I was in a very thin body and I was actually having like the worst anxiety of my life, struggling with depression, isolation, loneliness, and like not feeling fulfilled or happy. And now my body has more weight on it. I have more body fat and I feel like the most peaceful I've ever felt. My anxiety is basically at a 0, which is incredible. I'm in an amazing, healthy, loving, supportive relationship. I have great spiritual community. Like, I'm much happier. Oh, and I enjoy food. Like, I missed food and now I enjoy food. I enjoy all my favorite foods without guilt. I have 0 guilt when I eat. And I also don't overeat or binge anymore, which is huge for me and was the thing that was causing me a lot of distress. So that's the first thing I want you to get. I also want you to understand that like you can actually trust your body. Like big sigh, take a deep breath in, let it out. I can trust my body. Say it with me. Your body will actually stabilize at its set point. Here's the thing. You have a unique body. You are a certain height that is unique to you. Some of us are 5 foot. Some of us are 5'4". Some of us are 5'8" or 5'10". Some of us have larger bones. Some of us have smaller bones. Some of us naturally have more muscle mass on our bodies. Some of us naturally carry more fat mass on our bodies. Some of us have teeny tiny little boobies, and some of us have like very large boobs. Some of us hold our fat in our butts, and some of us hold our fat in our stomach. The point is, your body is unique. There's many different body shapes, and your body does have a set point. It has a place where it's going to be homeostatically happy. And that's what I want you to get. Like, you can trust your body to settle at its set point. Now, is your set point going to be your ideal quote unquote body shape, body weight? Maybe not. But I'm telling you, you're going to feel a lot happier accepting your body and learning to love and appreciate the body that you do have, and nourishing your body and eating food you enjoy and moving your body to feel good. You're going to feel a lot happier doing those things than chasing thinness, because like it's never enough. It's kind of like money, right? It's like you think you want more money, and then when you have this certain amount, it'll make you happy, and then you get it and it's still not enough. Thinness is the same way. You chase it and you reach it and it's still not enough. You still have body dissatisfaction. You guys, Giselle has body dissatisfaction. Giselle, supermodel of the world, got a boob job after having 2 kids and nursing them because she didn't like the way her boobs looked. She had body dissatisfaction. All right? So just know that 1, you're not alone as a woman experiencing that. And 2, you can actually trust your body to stabilize at its set point. I also want you to tell yourself, you can actually trust that you will stop overeating and binging foods that are scary to you once you've stopped restricting them. It's scary at first. And look, when you first take the reins off, you will probably eat more of that food initially than you will long term. And I do this with my clients through a process called habituation. You can do it in a very slow way, so it's safe and it feels good. You can also go all in. Like if you're just done with rigid rules and you can't take it 1 second more, you can go all in, which is pretty much what I did. But you can also go slow. You can habituate one food at a time. And that's what I love about intuitive eating. It's also about meeting you where you're at and what you're going to be comfortable with. But you will actually stop overeating when you remove restriction. I habituated chocolate chip cookies this spring, and specifically cookie dough, because I felt out of control around cookie dough. If I got around a bowl of cookie dough, I was just spooning mouthfuls into my mouth, right? And then I felt sick, physically sick. I felt disgusting. I felt regret afterwards. And so that was actually one of the last foods that I habituated because it felt scary. And what I did was I allowed myself to eat as much raw cookie dough as I wanted from this batch of cookies I made. I sat down, I was fully present eating the cookie dough, so I wasn't watching TV while I was literally just sitting with the bowl of cookie dough and eating spoonfuls of raw cookie dough. I was tasting it, I was smelling it, I was experiencing it, and I did eat more at first because I'd been so deprived of this food that I consider a delicious treat, right? If you haven't had raw cookie dough, it is amazing. And then all of a sudden I was I'm complete. I don't want any more cookie dough. I did not eat the whole bowl of cookie dough. And look, somebody might if that's part of their healing journey, but you can trust that you actually will stop overeating when you stop restricting. And now, here's what's so amazing, y'all. My boyfriend, Hunter, loves my chocolate chip cookies, and I make a bunch for him into little balls, and then we freeze them, and then he can just bake them from the freezer anytime he wants cookies. And I made a giant batch. I made 2 batches in one bowl for him. I had a giant thing of cookie dough sitting at my place by myself. I had zero desire to have cookie dough that day. I didn't have one taste of cookie dough. I didn't even have a cookie. I didn't keep any of it for myself because you know why? Because I don't restrict cookies anymore. And I can have a cookie whenever I want. And I can also have a spoonful or more of cookie dough when I want. But because I don't restrict it and I want to feel good in my body, I tend to just have like 1 or 2 cookies now, or like I'll have like 1 or 2 spoonfuls of cookie dough if I'm baking cookies and I really want it. Sometimes I might have 0. I want you to also understand that fat is actually important to your body. Fat has a lot of purposes in the body. We've been so conditioned to think this like ultra lean female body that has like very little body fat. She has no boobs. She has so little body fat, she has to go get fake boobs to look like a female. Y'all, this is nuts. If you actually think about it, like this is crazy. And look, if you want to get fake boobs, go for it. If your boobs are down to your hips after having babies, like go for it. I mean, like I'm not going to say that I won't do that if I have kids one day, because if my boobies are down at my hips, like I could see myself wanting a boob job to just lift them back up. But I do think it is bizarre that we have created this female aesthetic that has no fat on her, but then she has to go get fake fat inserted on her chest to look like a woman. Like what? This is crazy, y'all. Okay? Like your body is designed to have fat. And as a woman, your body carries fat in your boobs, your hips, your butt, especially some in your stomach. Men tend to carry more fat in their stomachs than women, but you're going to have some fat in your stomach too. I want you to understand that fat cushions your bones, your tissues, and your joints. It insulates your body. It helps protect your body from losing too much heat. It also provides nutrients to your body that your body can access if you are ever in a food scarce environment. And it also normalizes your hormonal cycle. So having a healthy amount of body fat on your body actually like creates regularity with your menstrual cycle. When I gained weight, like my cycle has actually never been so normal and I've had so few cramps. So what I like to do with clients is not just teach them the 10 principles of intuitive eating, but I like to also teach them a lot of important mindset tools, namely cognitive behavioral therapy. So actually teaching you how to do cognitive behavioral therapy and having you practice it, having you get really clear on like what are cognitive distortions and how to reframe them, how to do fear resolution exercises when you're confronted with fear and anxiety, how to resolve guilt when you're having food guilt and how to move past that, and how to improve your body image. If you just try to do intuitive eating, y'all, without the mindset work, without the deeper inner healing work, it will not be as effective. And then you might be one of those people who's like, oh, I tried intuitive eating. It didn't work for me. I truly believe intuitive eating is for everybody because you were born an intuitive eater. You just look at a toddler. They're an intuitive eater. You were a toddler once, okay? So you are an intuitive eater. It's just been muted by diet culture and all of the messages that we've been indoctrinated with about our bodies and food that have gone unquestioned by us. And when you start to question those things, you start to realize like your intuitive eater is inside and she's super wise and she knows what she wants to eat and how she wants to feel in her body. So I hope this empowered you to just think more positively about potential weight gain that may happen while learning to intuitive eat. You also may have fluctuations. So I know my body has gone up and down. I don't weigh myself anymore because I just found it not good for my mental health. But I have noticed just with the way my clothes have fitted that sometimes my weight kind of goes up and then down and then up and then down. And I know it's because my body is finding its set point. And you know, your body weight may spike a little bit as you habituate certain foods. Like the few weeks that I was eating all the cookie dough, like I know I gained a little weight, right? But like now my body's kind of trending back down because I've habituated cookie dough and I'm not eating it as much, right? And so just know that it's okay for your weight to fluctuate. It's okay for your body to fluctuate. You're a biological creature and you're designed and supposed to change in life, okay? If this is resonating for you, if you feel like you want to learn how to eat all foods without anxiety or guilt, if you want to be done with yo-yo dieting, if you've gained and re-lost the same amount of weight multiple times and you're just done with it, if you miss food and you're a foodie and you want to eat again, then I would love to talk to you more. You can fill out the application link in the notes description below, and that will take you to the application link for my coaching program freely. It's a small group coaching program, meaning I only work with a max of 12 women at a time. There may be fewer women in the program at a time, but there will never be more than 12, and I won't open a spot up until there is one available once I'm at 12. And this is because I want to have that personalized connection. I also want you to have camaraderie and community as you're going through the healing journey. When I worked with an intuitive eating coach, I just did it one-to-one with the coach, and I actually did not find it as powerful as being in a community of people who are going through the same thing as you. So I'm really excited to teach this to my clients. If this sounds like something that you want, go ahead and fill out the application link and I'll be in touch with next steps. Thanks so much for tuning in. If today's episode hit home for you, share it with another woman in your life. I feel like we just need to get this message out more. It's becoming more prevalent, but diet culture is still the predominant message. So we really have to fight for this new way of thinking about food and our bodies. I look forward to talking to you in just a few days. Have a great rest of your day and talk soon.